welcome to this evening's review of the council meeting that's finished just a while back. And I figured rather than wait till I got to the studio tomorrow, I'd do it from home because it was interesting. Okay, let's set the scene. We start the full council meeting with our new mayor, and they start with their normal introduction.
Reporting at meetings. In the interests of openness and transparency, councillors and members of the public are reminded that the law permits any person to film, record, photograph or use social media in order to...
Then there's a new bit.
I now very much look forward to leading the meetings of the full council and fulfilling my duties as Mayor of LOWESTOFT, but would firstly like to set out some non-negotiable ground rules. Meetings will be run in accordance to the standing orders adopted by this council. As chair, I would welcome hearing from all councillors who wish to speak, and anyone who wishes to speak will be heard. Putting your hand up first doesn't necessarily mean that you will be heard first. I will manage the order in which members will be chosen to speak. But to ensure efficiency of meetings, repeating points already made will be discouraged, and no member may speak for more than 3 minutes on one item, or more than once. The purpose of this meeting is to make decisions often recommended after detailed consideration by our committees, and I thank each member for all their hard work during these committee meetings. All members are asked to act in line with the Nolan principles contained in the Code of Conduct adopted by this council and of a standard expected that secures public confidence. As you are all aware, this is a public meeting, streamed live, and as such, unprofessional and inappropriate behaviour will not be tolerated.
Wow, didn't expect that. So basically, I'm going to run the meeting as I want to do, and you're going to have to put up with it. I like it. I do like this mayor. Of course, guess who the next question came from? Yes, Councillor Brooks, and she's not happy.
Yes, Councillor Brooks.
Yes, I mean, most of that's okay, but I did notice something sneaked in there, that the 3-minute rule seems to be very sensible for most occasions, but only able to speak once. Where did that one come from?
It's in the standing orders, Councillor Brooks.
Oh, so we're all in agreement?
Yes, we are.
Suddenly,
it's not.
We're all in agreement that somebody can only speak once.
Yes.
I'm not sure it is in standing orders.
Can we move on, please? It's not an item for discussion. Thank you. So item number 24.
It's probably worth mentioning that a lot of the things on the agenda tonight are simply to note something. So they're not actually items up for discussion. They're just to bring people's attention to the fact that they exist. Wendy doesn't like that very much, especially when the subject, of course, is IT.
All right, thank you. Item 28, finance and governance. There are 3 recommendations from F&G. The first one is to note the Town Council's IT policy and remind councillors of the provisions in the policy regarding email usage. It's just to remind councillors to familiarise yourself with the IT policy, specifically the bit which refers to excessive emails. There's no need for a discussion on this, Councillor Brooks.
Well, I'm sorry, I think I'm allowed to make comments.
It's just to note. So it's just to remind councillors.
Right, okay, so I'm not allowed to speak.
Well, there's nothing to say. It's just to remind councillors to familiarise yourselves with the IT policy. That's it. That is the agenda item. I'm going to move on, Councillor Brooks. 28.1b, to renew the existing financial regulations for 2 months from the annual meeting to July 2024.
And now the grumpiness starts to increase. Here we go.
Yeah, we are.
We are. I've read it out.
To do it by the end of July.
So is that everyone? Sorry, can I just have hands up again?
Well, can I ask what we're voting for? Because
I've read it out, Councillor Brooks. It's 28.1b, to renew the existing financial regulations for 2 months from the annual meeting to July 2024, noting it may be obsolete in parts given the new model financial regulations. This is a recommendation from F&G to adopt. Thank you. I think that was everyone.
Now, our new mayor clearly asks a question, gets an answer, moves on. What she doesn't want to do is ask a question, get the yes, and then a huge, great monologue that comes after it that we're quite used to actually over the years. But she just wants to move on. We've got the answer. Let's go. Wendy doesn't like this at all.
Is that a proposal to adopt, Councillor Brooks?
Yes, we've
Thank you.
discussed this fully,
Yes.
and
Yes, thank you very much.
Excuse me.
We don't need. a
Excuse me,
discussion.
can I
Excuse me,
finish?
I'm chairing this meeting and I'm
Unbelievable.
saying we do not need to discuss it. This is a recommendation from F&G to adopt.
And not
Thank you.
everybody sitting in this room is on F&G, which is why I would like to have a minute to explain.
It is not needed, but thank you. Is that you seconding, Councillor Pearce?
It is second. It is budgeted for expressly. Can I just ask off the back of this, we have been advised by staff, so they feel that we need 6 mowers in all, right? We've got 4 current.
That's fine. Tell it all.
What was that, 6 mowers?
Wendy, just stop it, will you? You make every meeting antagonistic when you keep name dropping me. Yeah,
We are in-
exactly we are.
Can I just remind everyone of what I said in the beginning?
I will, but please can you, look, I can speak
Yeah,
for
I've asked-
myself
I've
without
asked
being
Sarah-
name dropped.
Yeah, sorry, I've asked
Yeah.
Sarah the question, was it 6 mowers or is it 2?
Right, if I,
Is clearly on the agenda.
yeah, I know what it is. There was also another recommendation that came with it. Okay,
From
so
from that
if you
same-
want to include the recommendations, then let's have a full agenda. Okay, they wanted 6 mowers, 2 new. That's this item. The other one was that the 4 we had from North, which are end of life, will not last another year. So can we have an item on the budget to budget for replacement of those 4 in next year's budget, which will have to be done this calendar year? That was all I was going to ask, was to have an item
Thank
go
you.
forward to the budget.
I think I understood, sorry, I misunderstood that, I thought you meant there was to purchase 6. So it's to purchase 2 is the recommendation from F&G, and then the other 4 you're saying to budget for, to.
We will need to budget this year to replace, sorry. We will need to budget, when we prepare the budget for 25-26, which we'll have to do between September and December this year,
Yeah.
we need to budget to replace the existing 4 in next year's budget. It can't wait until next year to be discussed.
No.
It needs to be discussed this year.
So that'll go on to the next F&G agenda.
Budget and loan.
Budget and loan. Okay, so we've had a proposal to adopt this, seconded by Councillor Pitts. All in favour, please. That's everyone. Thank you.
The next section was quite complicated. It was the town hall project manager talking about things like tenders and discussions about how you select the suppliers and the contractors, and there's a very complicated sort of formula for actually sort of weighing up cost versus quality, and I found it quite interesting, but it was a bit heavy going. And then the meeting sort of went off the rails with some pretty spectacular shouting and bad behaviour, and it ended rather strangely, leaving the poor town hall manager wondering, why am I the only person on the screen? Watch this.
Clearly, when we come to the heady days of appointing a main contractor, that is in the responsibility of full council to do, because that is a commitment to a very large contract with a specific supplier. But that's my suggestion to you, that in order to move this one forward and to avoid the need for any extraordinary meetings, that we use that through the steering committee vehicle instead. That's what I want to say.
Thank you, Sheila. Councillor Pearce.
So I propose that we do delegate to the project committee to read through and give consent to the final version of the tender, but subject to the proviso, if we can't get clear agreement on the price quality weighting, that it would have to come back to full council for a decision.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Rappensberger, just a second. There's a proposal. I will come to you, Councillor Brooks. There's a proposal made. I need it seconded, and then I will ask for any comments. So any further comments, Councillor Brooks?
Yes, I just want some clarification from Andy about the price weighting, because at the moment I think we're sitting at 80-20. And I know that this is an issue with the National Lottery Heritage Funds, that they prefer us to be more 60-40. Is that what you're talking about? And we don't want to hold things up necessarily.
Well,
So can I
excuse
have
me,
clar-
it needs to go in the
Can
tender.
I have some clarification?
Yes,
Andy?
it,
Well, can I finish or
well,
not?
you asked for clarification, so I'm trying to provide it.
Well, let me finish my sentence.
Okay, go on.
first. Can I have some clarification if that is the proviso you're putting in your motion?
Absolutely, because it needs to go in the tender.
Can we have replies through me, please, if that's all right? So, Councillor Brooks, have you finished your question?
Yes.
So there's a
Councillor
scoring
Pierce?
ratio, okay?
Sorry? Councillor Pierce.
In the tender, there will be a scoring ratio, okay, between price and quality. Now, currently, on the recommendation of the project team, it is 80% price, 20% quality, on the basis that the quality specification is in the spec and therefore doesn't need to be weighted any higher. Right, look, if we're not going to have talk, can we not have people talking across that table?
Sarah was just saying that.
Yeah, I know. You just wanted me to reply to you and
Yeah.
then you're having a side
I'm-
conversation.
Sarah was just saying, can you stop, please? I'm answering Councillor Pierce's question. Sorry, you are having a side conversation.
You are,
Yourself.
I'm not.
Right, one
I
more
have not
disruption,
clarified.
Councillor
I have
Brooks.
said nothing. I am
Can we
listening to
stop
what
the live
Andy is
recording, please,
saying.
for 5
I
minutes?
have said nothing. I've had no side conversation with either Bob.
Well, that was a bit unsavoury. And I definitely didn't like the way that they pulled the plug on the audio of the meeting and then even the video. I mean, clearly the public are not allowed to know what goes on. The annoying thing is that if you'd been sitting at the back of the room in that meeting, you would have seen what went on. But because you're watching it on a live stream, you get the sanitised version. And I don't think that's particularly open and transparent, is it? But we have to assume that the mayor told them exactly what she thought and brought some sort of order to it. Because after that, for a while, they actually were tolerably civil. There were a few little spats, but nothing of worth. But it's annoying that we don't know what went on in that silence. And to leave the poor town hall manager sitting there looking like a lemon for about 5 minutes, I thought was a bit off. Poor woman. Anyway, it went on.
Thanks. 33.1C to approve a delegation to the Personnel Committee for it to make expenditure from the staff contingency budget with a per item expenditure limit of 2,500. Councillor Pierce.
so just to be clear, this wouldn't be for pay because obviously pay would be annual and therefore would exceed that. This is for one-off items of expenditure. So recently, being careful what I say because we're in a public meeting, we had to prove the costs of a procedure followed by a report. So it was a one-off cost, but it had no financial delegation. So we lost some time because it had to go to full council. So it's just to say that if we have anything like that where we have to commission some kind of consultant or produce a report and it's a one-off cost, that there is that delegation to personnel so that particularly if it's acting on legal advice, that it can approve that cost on its own authority.
Is that a proposal?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Well, I'm just wondering why personnel doesn't go along with the other standing committees of having that. Most of the standing committees have a minimum budget that they can pay without referring. So why hasn't personnel got that already?
Because personnel doesn't normally have any delegated
Pierce.
budgets.
Wait until I.
Sorry.
call on you. Thank
Sorry,
you.
Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Pierce.
Because other committees that have delegated expenditure have delegated budgets and personnel doesn't. The staffing budget is not delegated. It sits with full council. The staff contingency budget is delegated to staff for things like overtime and seasonal workers historically. But because there has been no delegated budget to personnel, it's had no delegated expenditure. So this is now saying that it should be able to authorise stuff like this from probably the staff contingency budget. It might arguably be the consultancy budget. subject to that per item cap, but not a wider delegation because it has no delegated budgets currently.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for Councillor Beer? Councillor Webb, all in favour, please?
The new mayor's quite cautious at letting people have rein to talk about things that are perhaps outside what should be being talked about at that precise moment. She's a smart cookie.
Councillor Ray?
Sizewell C have been invited. They are going to be there.
Right.
But Stopworth Sizewell C, as far as I know, haven't been invited. I may be wrong.
Thank you. Councillor Pearce?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you're tempted to think that both First Light, as I understand it, but Sizewell C sit on the place board. So is that how this sort of invitation has come about? But I do think, quite frankly, that when you get a debate like this that polarises debate, if you're going to invite one party, you should invite the other. It's rather a weighted invitation. Otherwise, that's just my personal take on it.
I'm not sure this is the right place to discuss this. Councillor Ray, final comment?
They are invited to be part of the power positive area, and that covers all sorts of areas, including East Coast College. And I believe East Coast College may have some connections in terms of work placements, etc.
But I'm going to stop the discussion there because the agenda item is just to receive your report. So moving on, 34.1B, to receive and note Councillor Murray's report from the threat posed to coastal communities by flooding risk meeting on the 25th of April 2024. Councillor Murray, do you have any comments?
Well, after that, it remained tolerably good. Nobody lost their tempers and they got a few more things done, a few more complicated things actually. But they got to the end of the meeting without killing each other. So I think based on what we saw during that meeting, that was probably a good ending. Anyway, it's quite clear that our new mayor is not going to stand for any nonsense whatsoever. So we need to watch this space because that meeting was very different from anything we've had before. Time will tell if certain councillors follow the tune. I suspect Wendy Brooks is going to struggle with this one because she's been used to being able to waffle and the new mayor's having none of that. Anyway, I wonder what the next one will bring. See you soon. Look after yourselves. I'll be back to the studio then.